Hey, TW3, how's it going? This is Chris Miller. I am back, and we're going to do another bang-up training for you here this evening. We are going to be talking about how to train your brain to get where you want to go. So I'm very excited about this. This is something I know a lot about. I actually went to school for a year and a half to learn all this stuff, and how your mind works, how it all comes together. You know, your brain is just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It can do so many things. But understanding the way that our minds work is something that a lot of people don't really do. And it's not that complex. It's really a very basic, simple thing. And I find that in life, most simple things are the best things. When you overcomplicate things, things break down. Things get tough. But when you keep it simple, they'll work forever. And the mind is made up that exact same way. So let's talk about your brain for a moment and see where we can go from there. Because here is a picture of what you think your brain looks like, right? And this is an accurate representation of the brain, but actually, you don't have one mind in there. You've got two. You've got a separation, a wall, if you will, that separates information into a holding area and then the main area. So you have your conscious mind, which makes up roughly 12%. 12% of all of your thought process. It also controls your short-term memory. And then you have your subconscious mind, which comprises the other 88% of your thoughts and controls your long-term memory. So how does everything work then? Well, it all comes down to information, right? Everything you see, everything you smell, everything you taste, everything you touch, it's all translated from what it is by your eyes, by your nose, by your mouth. It's all translated into information, which is then shot up into your brain. And it goes into the conscious mind. And think of the conscious mind like a holding area, right? Where this information gathers. And this information is unknown, right? It's new information. We don't know anything about it. So then you have the concept of the knowns and the unknowns. And what you have to do is you have to get enough unknowns together for them to become unknown. Now the knowns, those can be either positive or they can be negative. Okay? But once you go from an unknown to a known, then it needs to get from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. How does that happen? Well, we go back to that little wall again that we spoke about. And that little wall, if you see right in here, this is your critical mind filter. This is the part of your brain which you can essentially think of it like a bouncer at a nightclub. Just like any nightclub. What does a bouncer do? He looks at things and says, okay, this guy's popular, this girl's popular, they can come in. We want to keep only the most popular people in here that we can because we want our nightclub to be the best that it can be. And plus, we also have a small capacity that we can fill. So all of your unknowns gather over here in the conscious mind, waiting to get a big enough group to become popular, right? And when they do, the bouncer lets them in and they become a known, whether it's a negative or a positive. And then that becomes your long-term memory. That becomes your long-term ideology. It becomes your long-term pattern that you like to relive. Okay? So if enough of these unknowns group together, they get let in and they become a known of their own, or they reinforce a known that's already there. Okay? This helps you form strong opinions and helps you to decide what it is that you really like, what it is you really don't like. This is the way that that happens. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, gee, I like to do a lot of things. And every time you do something you like or don't like, such as maybe you like to ride a bicycle, maybe you like to go bowling, maybe you don't like cleaning the toilets. Every time you do that, you're reinforcing one of these knowns, whether it's positive or it's negative. And that reinforcing of that thing, of that idea, of that information, makes it stronger in your mind and the kind of thing that your brain says to you, this is what they want to do. This is what this guy or gal likes most. So what does all this mean? Well, essentially it means your thoughts are not entirely your own. They're merely recreations of established patterns that you've already made, right? Information became a known, and then you reinforced it. Every time you go to bed, you lock your door or check that you locked your door. What do you do? What happens if you don't check to lock your door? What does your brain do? It says, hey, go remember to lock your door. And you get up, you go and you check, you make sure your door's locked, right? It's because you varied from the pattern and your brain corrected you. It said, hey, wait a minute now, we got a pattern of doing this. We like doing this because we got all these knowns over here that says that we do it all the time. So when I know that we like doing this, let's go do it. And you get up like a good little soldier and you go do it, right? That's how your mind works on the internal level, right? You're reliving established patterns. And so because our mind works this way, sometimes it can feel like we're just going around in circles, right? Like we're a hamster on a wheel. We're not getting anywhere. You know, we're just reliving it over and over and over again. Every time we try to make a change, we end up right back where we started. Every time we try to vary from the path, we end up right where we started. Every time we end a bad relationship, we find another bad relationship sometimes, right? These things go round and round and round and round and round, and you wonder why. And you may say to yourself, gee, is that why my New Year's resolutions never work out? Is that why those diets that I want to put myself on, I always fail at those? Is that why every time I vow to change the way I do things, I keep going back and doing them the same way after all? The answer is yes. This is exactly why. See, it all comes down to patterns. The information becomes stored in your memory as a known. That known is reinforced every time you do it. Every time you do it, you add another plus or minus to that particular idea. When enough plus or minuses get added to those positive and negative ideas, it becomes a habit. And you have a habit, an established pattern of doing things a certain way. And if you vary from that pattern, your mind will gently correct it and put you back on the pattern it assumes that you want to live on. Why? Because of no other reason than the fact that you took the time to establish that pattern. Therefore, it assumes that that's what you want. It thinks it's helping you fulfill your dreams. It thinks it's helping you fulfill your desires. It thinks it's helping you get where you want to go because you've been doing it so much. See, it's a balancing act between good habits and bad habits. You got to reduce on the bad habits if you want to overcome them. And you got to build on the good habits, right? Because what you got to do is you got to filter out those bad knowns. And it takes time to overcome a habit, doesn't it? Because habits have a tendency to stick with you. Why? Because you've been reinforcing them for years. So what do you got to do? You've got to not reinforce them anymore until enough of those go away. Do the exact opposite of that so that you're building up your positives and you're not building up your negatives. When the positives outnumber the negatives by just one on the same subject line, guess what happens? The negatives get dumped right out. And you have a new established pattern. A new established habit. You look at people sometimes and you say, that guy's lucky. He gets everything and I don't seem to get anything. And they have everything they want. Everything always seems to work out for them. Every time they go into a deal, they close it. Every time this happens and that happens for them, nothing ever works out for me. You've got a habit of nothing working out for you, or very little working out for you. Or if it does work out for you, it has a habit of having a lot of struggle first, right? Why do you think that is? Because it happened a few times and you didn't correct it. So what happens is it became your norm. It became a habit. And then your brain sought out more trouble to reinforce it for you because it thinks you like that. Isn't that crazy? But this is reality. This is how it works. And so if something starts to go too easy for you, your brain will find and orchestrate a problem. And it will put that problem in front of you. You don't think it's true? Look, let me tell you something. Your mind controls everything around it. Okay? It can speak to other brains around you subconsciously. You ever have a person where you can kind of know what they're thinking before they even say it? You just know where they're going with it. That's because your brain is talking to their brain. They have their own little subconscious language that just filters out there. Now, I don't pretend to know how that works, but hey, these things are complex in the way that they can operate. But they do so by doing simple methods, okay? That's the key, the simplicity of it, all right? It's just reliving the pattern. So it will find a way to help you relive your pattern because that's what you want it to do in its opinion, okay? So if you find those people out there and you say that everything works out for them, guess what? They have a habit of things working out easily for them. Whereas your habit was things are going to work out, sure, but it's going to be a struggle, right? So even if things are going too easy, your brain will find a way to make you struggle. Look, when you get scared, what happens? Your body starts tensing up, right? Your blood, you get a little cold, right? Because your blood flows inward to protect the vital organs, right? How does all that happen? Because your mind perceived a threat. Your mind had a thought. And then it went to action and it made things happen to protect you. So physiological changes can be affected by simply thinking about it. That's the power of the subconscious mind. That's the power of the brain. And it can do that outside your body just as well as it can do that inside your body. A long time ago, there was a book and then later on a movie that came out called The Secret. And I actually like this book because I understand where they're coming from. And if you project out to the world things that you want, they say those things just magically come to you. They don't magically do anything. The universe isn't doing it. Your brains are doing it, right? Because if you are constantly putting it out there that this is something I want, this is something I want, this is something I want, your brain says, oh, well, I better help him get it. Or I better help her get it. And so it goes to work. And as you're walking down the road and it's going out and it's talking to other brains as they pass by and says, hey, do you have this thing my guy wants? Nope, I don't. Okay, thanks. Hey, do you have this thing my guy wants? Nope, I don't. Okay, thanks. Hey, do you have this thing? Yeah, I sure do. Hey, come on, let's have a conversation. And suddenly you have an urge to talk to that person. This is real stuff, man. This actually happens every single moment of the day. And you don't even realize it. If you want something bad enough, you'll have dreams about it. Because your brain will be putting things out there in front of you to say, I need you to get alive consciously on this subject so that you can live out your pattern. And it's all about patterns. Okay? You got to be consistent if you want to change things. So you got to minimize those bad habits. You got to maximize on the good ones. Because consistency over time is the key to success. Okay? Remember that. That's the key to success. So you're probably saying to yourself, so wait a minute, what you're telling me here, Chris, is all I need to do to fix all my problems in life is to train my brain to do the things I like and avoid the things that I don't like? Yeah. You got to repeat the patterns that you like to repeat, and you want to stay away from the patterns or habits that you don't want anymore. Okay? If you do that long enough, the good pattern will overshadow the other one. It gets dumped, and you are good to go. It's that simple. Because you're living on a pattern. So you got to train your brain so that you can be your better self. So that you can get the success you desire. So that you can change that losing streak. Change your luck. You can do all of that thing. It all comes down to a simple thing. The patterns we live. And our minds will help us do that. And when they're hurting you, guess what? They're hurting you because they think they're helping you too. Your brain's not out to get you. It's out to help you. But you're putting in the wrong information, and that's why you're suffering. Or you're putting in the right information. That's why you're doing well. Folks, thanks for joining me here. I've had a great time. I always have a great time with the TW3 family. And if you want to know more on this subject, you can check it out at the TW3 Network on Facebook. We talk about things like this all the time. You can check us out at TheLeaderTree.com, where you can see all of our previous podcasts. And you can always hear me, for example, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, at TW3Radio.com. Check out my show, The Leader Tree, where we talk about all sorts of fun little things just like this. Until later, Chris Miller reminding you to always keep smiling. Bye-bye.